Namaste, everyone. Welcome to the Vedanta Monastery. Today we have a special guest that was not here present in the monastery, although we have people here, and most of the people are also on Zoom. Today we have Dr. Timalsina, Sthaneshwar Timalsina, and he's usually one of our San Diego favorites. He used to reside in San Diego. He is not here with us because he has accepted a wonderful placement in Stony Brook University in New York. So now he is residing in New York. But we're very fortunate to have him today speaking to us in San Diego through Zoom on the Chandi and Durga Puja and self-realization. And it's fortunate because I believe today is the first day of Mahalaya, the first day of the Navaratri, the Durga Puja. So what an auspicious way to begin with our Dr. Timalsina giving us a talk today. So welcome, Dr. Timalsina. We're unfortunate that we can't have you physically here, but we're very fortunate to have you here through the virtual world of Zoom. And so thankful for you to be present. I'd request you to just begin with an opening chant and then get with the talk. Thank you.
ॐ विश्वं दर्पण दृश्यमान नगरी तुल्यं निजान्तर्गतं पश्यन्नात्मनि मायया बहिरिवोद्भूतं यथा निद्रया यः साक्षात् कुरुते प्रबोधसमये स्वात्मानमेवाद्वयम् तस्मै श्री Gurumurtaye nama idam Sri Dakshinamurtaye. Thank you, Swamiji. Thank you, my friends in San Diego and abroad. Yes, indeed, it's a very auspicious time to discuss, to address the goddess. We are still going through Mahalaya, so we personally are starting tomorrow the Ghatasthapana. And anybody who knows the significance of these 9 nights in the Shakta order, there is no chance of exaggerating it because it's the most important time for Shakta practices. And the victory of the goddess is the victory of the good and victory of the truth and the victory of the light and victory of knowledge over ignorance. That is the final revelation of the truth, the moment of self-realization. There are many ways one can read the victory of the goddess. A very short book, not even 700 stanzas, even though called Saptasati. And the simple narratives of the goddess kills this demon and that demon, she fights this way and that way. And some people, very confused, ask me, I can't even see philosophy here, because they are looking for a book like Sri Harsha's Khandana Khanda Khadya maybe. But this book, to me, is extremely poignant. Let's start from a 2-minute brief of the narrative in the Devi Mahatmya. That this hermit, Sumedha, and in his refuge come 2 persons displaced. One is a king, Surata, and another a businessman, Samadhi. And both start wondering, why are we so attached to the things we don't even have? And the conversation comes to who is Mahamaya and how we are on her grasp and grip and how we are unable to recognize our own true reality. And then that takes us to who is this Mahamaya? And then the conversation goes to the birth of Madhu and Kaitava, to demons who shake with fear the god of creation, Brahma, and who praises Mahamaya, the mother who puts to slumber her child, Lord Vishnu. And when Vishnu is awake, he takes care of these demons under the guidance, of course, of Mahamaya, as she lets him wake up. And then in the next eon comes the Mahisha demon, the buffalo demon, and there is the collective forces of all the gods distilled into a single materialization as Durga, who again subdues demon Mahishasura. And there comes yet another eon of the rise of a series of demons led by Shumba and Nishumba, the demons like Dhumraksha, like Chanda and Munda, and all these demons are subdued by the goddess likewise. And ultimately, the goddess wins over all the negativities, all the demons. And there is this dawning of realization, the need for the surrendering to the goddess, and these both Suratha and Samadhi. The king and the businessman go to forest, and for years they practice meditation, they worship the goddess, they make a clay image of the goddess, and then make their offerings and prayers, and then the goddess comes and grants the wishes. The king wants to regain his kingdom, and the goddess says, yes, you should have your kingdom back, but don't be happy with this kingdom. I will make you the king of the entire eon of creation cycle. So you will be the Manu. And then for Sumedha, he just wants to, for Samadhi, he just wants to have the self-realization, and the mother grants self-realization, that you shall have self-realization. A very simple narrative with 4 poignant, poetic central verses there. And I have already given lengthy discourses on the Devi Mahatmya, and all the discourses are available in Vimarsha Foundation. So I will not repeat the whole exposition that I have already addressed. In here, I would like to relate to some of the central issues for self-realization and the way self-realization is understood in Advaita Vedanta and then in the Shakta philosophy, and to what extent there is reconciliation, and how does this give us a perfect path for all the seekers worldwide, and how we can utilize our quest by focusing on this apparently very simple text, or that does not appear to have all the complex sutras and lengthy philosophical debates and simple devotion. The first thing, let's start from social observation. When I sit tomorrow in my own daily worship, I will be reciting the text very quickly. Within an hour, I will have it, the entire text from the Kavachas to Rahasyas finished. And you'll see that's like a motor speed. And how can you have the contemplation within that time? The first thing I'm telling you is, if you go to temples after temples of the goddess and see how thousands and thousands of people are reciting the book, the very recitation becomes the most central piece of practice of this book. How can you just be repeating and not even focusing on meaning? It's not that if you are not spending lengthy time, you are not paying attention or you don't understand meaning, but at least what is happening in this fast recitation of the text, the focus on the words itself, and we have a disease, a cognitive disease, the cognitive disease of the centrality of meaning. And it's not just the primacy of meaning, it is the rejection of the word at the cost of meaning. We think that the words are like the case, the cocoon of coconut, and you are looking for a coconut inside the meaning, and then you toss it out. That is just a garbage. Or let me find another example. It's like the peel of something you can't eat, like a jackfruit peel, you know. So you don't eat the peel of a jackfruit if you know what it is, you know. So you want to get the fruit inside. So what is our common assumption is that these words are like the peel of jackfruit or like a coconut shell, and you have to throw it to find the juice, the flesh, and the meaning is the flesh. But this is wrong. It's inseparable. Vagartha viva sampriktau, vagartha pratipattaye, jagataha pitarau vande, Parvati Parameshwarau. Kalidasa, in the beginning of Raghuvamsa, makes this very simple prayer. Most of us understand meaning and then completely ignore, move on to the story. What is he saying? Parvati Parameshwarao, Jagataha Pitaro, I surrender to the parents of the entire world. Who are they? Parvati and Parameshwara, Lord Shiva, who reveal, help me accomplish what the speech and author the meaning. They are connected, intermingled, samprikta, sanghata. They are merged together like the word and the meaning, vak and artha. So this vak and artha, Kalidasa is not saying that the purpose of his speech is only to reveal meaning. It is almost like you want to dump Parvati, the speech, when you have Shiva, the meaning. You see? So therefore they are intermingled. They're inseparable. Their relation is called avinabhava. One cannot exist the other. And so let's extend this philosophy in the recitation of Chandipatha, that you should not look down upon simple utterance, simple reciting. There's one more reason why this recitation is looked down upon, is because the words and chanting the words is very corporeal, whereas meaning, thinking is very cognitive, very mental. And we are told that anything corporeal is subordinate over the mental, the cognitive. And this is a disease that I'm telling you about. There is no separation between the corporeal and the cognitive. There is no separation between meaning and the word. There is no separation between Shakti and Shiva. So simple recitation is as essential as some deeper insight, deeper understanding. Going now to self-realization. There always are series of ways of revelation of ourselves. The first, the beginning of self-realization, I would say, is a point of displacement. Because the self here is not just the physical phenomenal self we are talking about. The self here is the foundational being, pure consciousness, the basis upon which the body and the world and everything is projected, everything arises. And this, for you to recognize this basis, you have to briefly have your gaze changed, your glance turned from the apparent to the basic, to the foundational. When I'm thinking about the self, I forget my body. It is not that body is the hindrance. Why are the texts telling you to go beyond the body? They are not saying negate your body. They are saying you need to have something higher to focus other than the body, so that that foundation can reveal itself. That's all. It's not a negation of the apparent. It is an encouragement to see something beneath by negating the apparent. So the same way, negating words were only meant to reveal the basis of consciousness. Negating the body meant only to reveal to consciousness the basis. And so in this negation, there arises an alternative perspective. But that is not to come back, not to withdraw our gaze and to recognize that I am the totality. The first negation, as I mentioned, of displacement, I'm starting from it because now I'm speaking from my friend's house. I have had the illusion of house many times, and then have also been through displacement many times. And just like we are physically, corporeally located, we are also geographically located. For somebody who has never left the natal home, he would be so deeply grounded, his self-experience is annexed to that house. Anything that happens to that house, that happens to him within what he believes he is. So this self-experience of Suratha and of Samadhi are confronted in the very beginning of the narrative because the king has expanded his self-identity with his kingdom, with the horses, with the elephants he has, with the army he has, with the ministers he has. And that is lost. He is displaced. And there comes this businessman. Of course, he's very proud of his successful business and the money he made. And then his own relatives, his own children take over his money and kick him out. Another story of displacement. And that is when you start thinking we are deeply rooted to what is mine. If you live in the same monastery for too long, you start feeling the monastery is your home. That starts becoming an extension of your body. The body becomes an extension of your ego, and then everything becomes interconnected. Be displaced, and then you will go back to the basis of who I am. Where am I? This is this, where am I? And how is this my subjectivity projected? It's a question in the beginning of the book, the Devi Mahatmya. Therefore, I'm saying this is a book about self-realization. Let's go to the end. Tava Jnanam Bhavishyati. So the goddess's last word to the Vaishya, the businessman Samadhi, is you will have self-realization. So that is why this book is all about, from the beginning about self-confusion to the end about self-realization. The problem, let's problematize how this is linked with self-realization and in what model, in what sense this is different from the general Advaita understanding of self-realization. Tava Jnanam Bhavishyati. The goddess confirms you shall have self-realization. This is given. From the Advaita perspective, self-realization cannot be given. You reflect upon yourself. There is no upasana vidhi. There is no injunction of devotion. There is no injunction of puja. There is no injunction of meditation. Meditation cannot confirm your self-realization. Meditation cannot be a direct cause for self-realization. You cannot. Suppose you forgot you are wearing your beads, and meditation, let me meditate upon the beads, that I'm wearing the beads, I'm wearing the beads, I'm wearing the beads. That meditation does not give you the recollection of the fact that you are still wearing the beads. Knowing and repeating knowledge are not the same. Being devoted to the god or goddesses cannot confirm knowledge, because knowledge is personal, private. I can know or not know. You cannot make me know. You can show me the way. You can describe the facts, but you cannot make me understand something. I have to want to understand it. I have to open up for understanding. It is my freedom to understand. It is my own nature to recognize myself. Therefore, Advaita has a point that nobody can grant this realization. It's not given. It cannot be taken back. Because the problem is, oh, I want the goddess to give me self-realization, but let us say it is given. Tomorrow she thinks, okay, this guy is dumb. He's not even worthy. Let me take it back. Because self-realization is such a thing that nobody can take back either. This is the Advaita position. But then, how is this Devi Mahatmya grounding the thesis that the mother can also give you self-realization? Forget about money and all the prosperities. So the idea here is that Chiti Rupeda Yakritsnametad Vyapastita Jagat. This goddess is herself that permeates the entirety in the form of pure consciousness. Who is this goddess that is being praised? This goddess is nothing but pure consciousness. This goddess is nothing but daya, compassion. This goddess is nothing but the mother, Matri. This goddess is nothing but intellect, buddhi. This goddess manifests in many forms, but ultimately nothing but your own true nature, your own essential self. So this true nature, your own essential self, has that freedom that even when this phenomenal self, the ego, is so enmeshed with the body, unable to recognize, reflect back its own reality, it has the freedom, the capacity of self-revealing, because this Chaitanya Chiti is Swaprakasha, self-revealing. It does not require anybody else's effort, and therefore in this cosmic plane of manifestation, that pure consciousness has also the will of self-revelation. And when it is replete with that will, self-revelation does occur, and therefore self-concealing is also its own process, self-revealing is also its own play. Therefore, there is no problem in the goddess, which is your own true essential nature, to express itself, to reveal itself, to manifest itself, which is being expressed into the manifold of good and evil, of the phenomenal, of the mortal, of the gods and the demons and the humans and the animals, because there are all kinds of characters that come into play in the Devi Mahatmya. Only upon this philosophical paradigm that we can even start scratching the essence of Devi Mahatmya. If we have no proper framework, we are not trying to engage the text within its own context. And then no matter how much we read word by word, line by line, as long as we do not have the metaphysics, as long as we do not have the bigger platform, a bird's eye view of all the assumptions within the book, our internal understanding, our etymologies, our word by word translation will be meaningless. And now we can go to each and every word. And I will not focus on all the texts that we can address in short time. I will only talk upon the ego, the expressed subjectivity. The first of such subjectivity comes in the conflict between Brahma, the creator god, and this drunken and mad, these two demons, Madhu and Kaitava. This dyadic manifestation of Madhu and Kaitava as the wax, ear wax from 2 ears of Lord Vishnu. And what is the ear? The Shruti, the Karna Mala. When you have a not proper hearing, because the Shruti also refers to the Vedas. What does Brahma do? Brahma does the chanting. His being is associated with the Vedas. He reveals the Vedas. He speaks, he sings, and his singing is what constitutes reality. It is the Vach. He expresses the Vach, and that Vach turns into the Vishwa, Bhageva Vishwa Bhuvanani Jagge. His speech is what materializes into the manifold. And that, who is there to listen to the Vads? At that time, when Brahma starts singing, the only being that is there is Vishnu, who is asleep. And there is the Shruti problem, right? Twofold Shruti problem. On the subject is asleep, and then there is the airworks building, of which comes demon. If you have the airworks, what happens? You will never get the proper meaning of Shruti, and those things will start appearing as demons. They will misdirect you. They will create some different ego. What will that do? That will threaten the very flow of Shruti. That is the Brahma, the manifestation of speech. And then Brahma threatened, he summons Mahamaya. Because Brahma is a wise one. He realizes that the manifestation of these egos and the slumber of Vishnu can only be conquered by surrendering to Mahamaya. Because she is the one who projects dualities, and she is the one who can give the enlightening. That is the first awakening is happening. Who is waking up? Because what is realization? Self-realization is awakening. Who gets the first awakening? It is Vishnu, Purusha, Adi Purusha, the first primordial being. You can call God. He is the one who gets the first realization of who he is. He is also put in slumber. How does that happen? That is covered. And then there is no consciousness of the apparent, the manifest. Vishnu wakes up. It is not that Vishnu is forgetting his true essential foundational knowledge, but Vishnu is unaware of the phenomenal, the world. And that awakening is required for Vishnu to maintain his role. Role maintenance is essential in this philosophy. We all have our roles to play. A teacher has a role to play as a teacher. A king has a role to play as a king. A businessman also has a role to play as a proper businessman. And so do the gods, so do the demons. Everybody has their own role to play, including the lion of the goddess. He knows when his role is to come. And then the second type of realization is a slightly different realization. It's a little complexity there in the story of Mahisha, because you have to go to some Puranic genealogy to trace that the Ramba, this Mahisha, is the son of a demon, but by the grace of Lord Shiva, there was this demon was granted that Lord Shiva himself will manifest as his child. And so, coming in this animal form, there is this Shiva. Who is the animal that is Shiva? What is the word for animal in Sanskrit? Pashu. And then do not just get bogged down to Mahisha itself, because the Mahisha, Mahishi are the words even for the kings and queens. So do not get bogged down with that word. But this is a Pashu, the beast of envy, first of all. Mahisha is primarily, and there's also death, because he is the vehicle of Yama. Buffalo demon is a metaphor for in Indian culture. The buffalo, is what does Yama ride on? On Yama, on Mahisha, buffalo. So now he's drunken. The problem with Mahisha, he's not recognizing his true nature as Shiva. And so he's drunken, and he's so powerful because he's Shiva in his true nature. Therefore, he's Shaktiman. He has all the powers. And he thinks he can control everything in the world. And that is the conflict. Even while we are Shiva, for us to mischaracterize Shakti, to not recognize the pristine form of Shakti, our powers will be meaningless. our application of Shakti will be demonic. And that very demonic application of Shakti will turn us into demons, because there is no difference between an animal and a demon and Godhead. Because the essence of Mahishasura is Shiva, the manifest form of Mahishasura is a buffalo, and he himself is a demon. So therefore, Shiva or a demon or a beast are one and the same. But there is, what is the problem? The problem is a confusion of the ego, that he does not recognize himself as Shiva. He now recognizes himself as the king of the demons and also as a buffalo. So these confusions lead to what? To disruption. Again and again, you will see this killing, and then many people freak out. This is a book, so much of blood and so much of violence, I can't even read it. Now, some people are genuinely asking this. Some people have vested agenda. They are not willing to read the essential meaning of the book, and they want to say something nonsensical. But the metaphor of violence here is again and again of subduing subjectivity, rejection of the lower egos. Every single time the ego arises, it is cut through, and there is a higher revelation, higher realization dawning as a consequence. The time Mahisha has this drunkenness, the goddess says, Garja, Garja, Chadam, Muda, hey, keep roaring, keep making noise for a brief time, but once I come and I will subdue you. And so does the goddess. But then when the demon is killed, Mahisha is struck with the spear of the goddess. Her glance is not any less piercing, and anyway, the spear also goes to the chest of the demon. There is just a sudden revelation of the true nature of Mahisha. That brief moment, he recognizes his true nature as Shiva. There is the Sayuj. The demon merges into the goddess. Goddess is not banning him to eternal damnation. Goddess is granting him self-realization and allowing him to merge within the body of the goddess herself. And that is the basic story, the narrative of the second section, wherein self-realization is a different structure. Within this different structure, self-realization is an identity with the goddess. And this identity is negation, is possible, is made possible by means of negating our own phenomenal subjectivity. And there comes the final section of the Devi Mahatmya, in which again these gods are tormented, and there is the Sumba and Nishumba demons controlling the world, and the gods invoke, you promised you'll come, now come and help us. And then when the goddess comes, and then the demons send a message, because she's so enchanting, she's so beautiful, and the demons are so drunken in their madness, they send a message, hey, I mean, you can choose any of us between two of the most mighty demons. We have subdued the gods. There is nobody, the creation god or the destruction god or nothing that can stand with us. Then come and be our wife. And goddess responds that I can marry you if you are equal to me in power. She is the collectivity of Shakti. And so the demons do not know that. So what happens with people with power, the demon creeps in. I do not know whether you have analyzed it. The people who are powerless, they do not have this drunkenness. And slowly they have some power, and the demon creeps into their heart. And the demon gives them the ego. And they start claiming themselves to be the center of universe. Everything has to happen according to their will. And that is when you know that they are possessed by the demon. And so this demonic power needs to be subdued. only the goddess of wisdom can subdue that demon. And then what happens is she threatens them. And then when the chief of the army goes with his big army, the goddess just says, whom? And then the single whom incinerates the demon. And then there is a little bit of realization. So this is the sound, a simple whom and a simple word. That is, there is no understanding of the meaning. Oh, this word is so fearsome and let me be dead. No, it's just the word, just the article. Hunkare daivatam vas. So the goddess incinerates the Mrasura by simply uttering the word whom. So we need to understand this, how the identity of these demons, the lower stage demons, identity is wiped clean by a mere articulation of words, mere articulation of phonemes. And then you can see the Chanda and Munda. Now the goddess brings the heads of these two demons, Chanda and Munda. Again, this dyadic structure of the identity of the ego. And Chamunda is the one who subdues these demons. And then what is the depleting of their bodies with blood. And so this is again the manifestation, the rajas. Blood always is a metaphor for rajas. And when we identify ourselves with blood, with rajas, then that rajas identity is also sucked within by the goddess. So what is left? Pure sattva is left. The skull is pure sattva, metaphor, by the way. And then that is when, like the goddess is holding a cup, skull cup, and what she's holding is the nectar, the ambrosia, and the skull is the pure sattva. So yeah, of course, when you see the skull and you have some kind of cultural connotation, but that is what the tantric meaning is. And finally, the great realization is coming in the part of Sumba and Nishumba. And then that is when the Sumba is like, you are so many, I'm alone. Because before he had this, you are lonely, you read that. Chapter 5, you read that. The demon says, oh, you are just a single woman. How can you defeat us? Come on, even only if I were the only one, but I have a big army. I'm so powerful. But now the demon begs, chapter 10, you go, I'm only one. Come on, it's not fair. You are so many. And the goddess says, Ekaivaham jagatyatra. This is a completely different type of aham. This is the highest level of ahanta, purna ahanta, a complete I-ness expressing itself that I am the totality. Ditiyaka mamapara. What is there other than myself? And within that realization, Shumba fails to see himself circumscribed by this totality. And that failure of us to recognize our space within the divine, all-encompassing gaze is what makes us out, exposed of the absolute. And that is when our ego needs to be subdued. And then final dawning of realization has to come after that, subsequent to that. And this is the end of the story and the series of subjectivities that have been negated here. And the final dawning of realization and in each and every step is the most essential meaning of the Devi Mahatmya. I pray to all of you to give some time to recite this book and do not get bogged down to the extent you have understood meaning or not understood meaning, because this is not a book that has finite meaning. Some mathematical text, you have a finite meaning. Logical books, you have a finite meaning. But these books are written in such mystical way that meaning keeps unfolding forever. Thank you so much, Swamiji. If there is time, I welcome questions. And I really appreciate you to think about me. And I love you and respect you. And I know all my family in San Diego. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Timalsina. So let me ask now, in our Zoom family, if anybody has questions, can we make it Zoom? Can you make everybody seen here?
Yeah.
So if anybody has questions, anybody have questions here in our regular audience here? No. Okay. If you have a question, just go to the box and raise your hand. Okay, so there's two. So bring them up on and let them ask their question. Give us a moment. We'll call on you. Okay, Vishal, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Thank you.
Can we see his face?
Thank you, Professor, for very enlightening. And I'm so blessed to see you again. You went all the way up to Sumba and Nisumba. In this whole scheme, where Chanda and Munda comes into the play. Thank you, Professor.
Thank you so much, Vishalji, for the question. Chanda and Chandi, this Chanda demon becomes so central to the book that in Nepal, we do not call it Devi Mahatmya, we call it Chandi. The book is Chandi. So the Chanda comes from Chadi Kope, the anger. So accompanying is Munda, the head, the identity, the ego that has this rays, boiling rays. And then this is boiling rays with the ego, I am, aham. And who are you to come in front of me? The whole subjectivity, your whole personality wrapped around your anger, your fury. And that is where this Chanda comes. And who is Chamunda to lick unto these entrails and to cut the heads off? Is this subjectivity constituted by anger is not your real subjectivity, because many times we are composed either by our envy, we are composed either by our lust. In the case of when the proposal, Shumba and Nishumba, their identity is composed by lust. They have lust towards the goddess. Delusion, the subjectivity of Madhu and Kaitava is composed by pure delusion, and they have just like not knowing who they are, pure confusion. And then in the case of this Chanda and Munda, the subjectivity is purely composed by fury, rage, the anger. Look at that. I mean, in the world, look into people. They are all but anger. They're ready to kill other people because they are angry. Not just that. They are ready to die because they are angry. Anybody who is ready to kill others or ready to die himself because of anger, they are these demons. Chanda Munda. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Timalsina. Before we get to the next question, can you a little bit explain the relationship right now? Right now is Durga Puja. These are the 9 nights. Is there any relationship with, now when we talk about the Chandi, meaning that in Durga Puja, these 9 nights, what are they meant for? I've heard some ways the first 3 nights are to kill the tamasic aspect. Can the Chandi be seen as 3 stories which relate to our tamasic, rajasic, and sattvic ego? And then is Durga Puja also similar to that in the sense that can it be interpreted the first 3 nights is to get rid of our tamasic, second 3 nights rajasic, third 3 nights sattvic? Can you explain a little bit of the relationship with Durga Puja and the Chandi?
How to decipher this is a never-ending project. And if people are deciphering as a successive rise from the tamas to sattva, that is fine with me. I cannot negate that that is not a valid reading, although I didn't explain that way. But this 9, does come in the bifurcation or a division of the triadic structure of the gunas. 3 gunas, each divided, 1 guna having 3 within, making 9. But in the ritual context, what do? We have this Nava Durga. These triadic gunas, when multiplied, become 9, but then we have 9 Durgas to correspond to them. They are not like representing tamas, but they are like each having the aspect of those still presenting pure consciousness. So within themselves, they are always expressing their own luminosity, but in the manifest form, they are also taking a slight aspect of tamas, slight aspect of rajas, slight aspect of sattva. Therefore, we have a gradual rise of these sattva, rajas, tamas, and then making it 9-fold, and then we have this 9 Durga. The most popular Kavacha, Devi Kavacha, which is generally coming in the form of Devi Mahatmya, only has one which we call Bhadrakali Kalpa, Prathamam Shaila Putri cha Ditiyam Brahmacharini. So there is these 9 Durgas outlined there that has been more public. There is yet another series of 9 Durgas. From the Ugra Chanda Kalpa, you have the Rudra Chanda, Prachanda, Chandogra, Chandanaika, all these different forms of 9 Durgas. You have yet another Kalpa. When it's a Vana Durga Kalpa, for example, you have the Jaya Durga and Vana Durga, and all these completely different set of Durga, 9 Durga practices, yet again, more common in this form in Kerala area. So the complexity of esotericism surrounding Durga practice never ends, and it never stops mesmerizing myself that there is so much of depth in it, so much of mysticism in it. And even though laymen are making it just a celebration of Dasera or Dasai in Nepal, and the 10th victory day, which we celebrate as a kind of get together and seeking blessings, but every aspect of it is deeply infused with mysticism. And yes, Swamiji, reading this as an elaboration of Triguna does totally make sense to me. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Timalsina. Go ahead. Go ahead. So, Dr. Hiran, I'll ask you to unmute yourself. Let's bring him.
Yeah, I'll ask. Yeah.
If you
So
can I ask where you're calling? Where are you? I should ask where are you coming from?
I'm from Mumbai,
Okay, wonderful.
and I'm there in the group of Swamiji. So like I've been hearing his few of the lectures. I'm very, very impressed, and I wish I could meet him once. So I would like to ask some questions. May I go ahead?
Sure. Yes.
Yeah. Pranam Swamiji. So I wanted to know that you just explained there are various forms of Durga. So like, does this forms of Durga have corresponding Shiva or Bhairava also? And the second question is that does Lalita Tripura Sundari also have a tamasic rupa? Because the way she is been posed, that looks very sattvic to me. But does she have a tamasic aspect also? If yes, kindly explain.
There is no sattva in the body without rajas and tamas to support it, meaning you cannot completely expunge other gunas and have a singularity of one guna only. I'm picking the second aspect of the question first. So Tripura Sundari can or does manifest in the ritual manuals, if you are familiar with it, in the morning form and the day form and the evening form. And then there is also a Turiya form. And then in the morning early form, she has this radiant white manifestation like a very para. She is the para. And during the day, you can have the red color and lustful form of this Kameshwari. And then in the evening, she has this dark hue and she's Kali. And then in the Anakya state, she is nude and still carrying these 4 weapons that she loves the most. So these are like expressing gradually, collectively, embodying different aspects as we express in the form of guna, and she's at the same time transcending guna. And yes, people who have given only one form, the market Tripura Sundari, meaning what has been popularized is not all that is there. And so that's one thing. Now coming back to the 9 Durga, yes, these complexities will give us what are the corresponding Bhairavas. These originally the structure of 8 matrikas, and added the 9th as the center. Bindu is what evolved into 9-fold structure, and then you can see Ashtashtaka Bhairava. But setting that aside, the original cult was within Kubjika in the form of Nava Nitya. And that is why we got these 9-fold, 9-fold, 9-fold everywhere. We just kind of lost track of the origins. And then we use this Nava Nitya, 9 Nityas. These are associated with the Bhairava Navatman. And this Navatman Bhairava is later only giving the role within the Trika as one of the Bhairavas for the apara, like within Parapara and Para, having a connection with Rati Shekhara and Bhairava Sadbhava. So this Navatma Bhairava, the central phoneme is the 9 phoneme Kuta, his mantra, is itself manifest in the form of 9 Nityas, and these 9 Nityas are revered in like endless manifestations as Navadurga. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Thank you, Dr. Timalsina. So there's a couple questions on the chat. I'd like to, if you can unmute yourself, Mary, if you'd like to ask the question yourself, we'll unmute you. While I'm unmuting you, Mary, let me ask another question, Dr. Timalsina, that's come up. So Mary, if you can, I'll put you next. Dr. Timalsina, in the Navaratri, there's the Sandhi Puja. Sandhi Puja is the junction time between the 8th and the 9th day, 9th night there. And I was going to ask you, sometimes I've heard that in the Sandhi Puja, this is where the killing of Mahishasura occurs. Or can you explain the Sandhi Puja and what's the significance of the Sandhi Puja? Is it the killing of Mahishasura at that time period? Or what is it? What does it represent?
Kala Ratri, Maharatri, and Moharatri, these 3 nights are the nights of Saptami, Ashtami, and Navami. And within these, the final is the victory, when the 9th is a completion, and then the 10th, there is no killing. So 9th, I would say, is the end. But what do we do? In the Sandhi, let's first go to the ritual itself. In the ritual itself, in this Sandhi, we have the Bali, and then whatever form of offering, and then you do the Ayudha Puja. You worship all the weapons. And then we generally, in the villages, I do not know how people still maintain or not, then we put all the weapons in a corner and don't touch it till the next day. Meaning now all the weapons have to rest, meaning the project of holding the weapons has been completed. So there is no violence, there is no killing. The weapons are already offered to the goddess, and so we do not touch any weapon. And so it means that yes, whatever needs to be subdued has been subdued. So when was he exactly killed? I don't know. But I would say that based on even on the ritual, that is when you do the Ayudha Puja, and then you keep it and you don't touch it for that day. So therefore, the objective, the purpose of the weapon has been completed then. Thank you, Swamiji.
And then what about the sacrificing of the Bali? So what is what does that represent then?
It is all of them who have been sacrificed, and then it is your representation. Bali is yourself. As long as you do not have the identity, then you are not offering anything. It's a coconut mostly touch in your head. Have you seen that people before they offer to the goddess, they
Yes.
touch in their head? It's a transference of the ego, you know.
I see.
People are only doing that, but the idea is this is me, and I'm offering myself. So there is no higher offering than the offering of your own ego, your own subjectivity. But then it can appear in many forms, right? You know, for the Shaktas who are not killing animals, then we offer, like Bali means, the word the Bali means gift. It's not killing. Bali is not like slicing, killing. Many people are confused, you know. Bali upahara, Bali is the gift. So we offer gift of whatever we like the most. But what is the best thing we like? We like ourselves. We are narcissistic people. we love ourselves. You touch it before you offer to the God. This is me, okay? My ego, take it. I'm done with it. So that is the best of the offerings.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Let me see if we can now unmute Mary. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Okay, Mary, go ahead.
Thank you. This almost follows from the question that you just asked, Swamiji, and the answer that you gave, Sthaneshwarji. And you talked about it in the talk itself, but I would like you to focus on it, because I think it's a particularly hard time in the world today. Would you again address the role of evil, and how does this, what we do in reciting the Chandi, how does this affect? Thank you.
We are composing, empowering, buttressing our ego based on our phenomenal presence, our presence in the world. The first of the types of the ego are the ego made by delusion in the case of Madhukaitava, the ego made by lust in the case of Shumba Nishumba, and in the case of Mahisha, again, this arrogance, I am. And then, so the first of and foremost of the identity, the ego, is these composed by our misconceptions. And there is a second layer of the misconception of the king, of the ascetic hermit, of the businessman, because even when the business is lost, he's still a businessman. All the time he's invoked as Vaishya. He has no money. He's just a street beggar Vaishya. He's not begging, but he's invoked as Vaishya, but he has no money. He's in the forest. He's addressed as the king. Even the goddess addresses him as the king. He has no kingdom. He has nothing left. He's kicked out of his kingdom. He's in the forest. So I am a powerful being. I am a rich being. These are the second layers of the egos that surround us. And then the third is again about home, and about displacement, and about our ability to accept being a hermit, being homeless. So this is because for biggest problem for Suratha and Samadhi, they are homeless, you know, they are thrown out of their kingdom or the business, their family, their home. That is the whole beginning of the story, beginning of the narrative. What are our fundamental problems in our society? Our bestial territoriality, our misconception of the projected ego, in which we create ourselves somewhat superior to others based on our deluded ideas, and we proliferate, we propagate those ideas, impose upon others of our betterness than the other people. And this self-righteousness is what is demonic in our society. This self-centrality is what is demonic in our society, the biggest of the toxins. And then our own Mahisha nature. Mahisha is the beast of the territoriality. What does he do? He expands his territory. You know, he wants all the land for, I am the one who has kicked out the gods, for heavens. Now they are hiding somewhere. I don't even know where. I would have killed them. So this is how the demonic energy works. It wants to take over all the land and then, subdue the good and then throws out the good to exile. And that is when, what is the power then? Power is the speech. What can you do? You can talk. What is mother saying? Because it is the speech, what, So ultimate power we have is the power to speak, because many people think that there is no power. Power lies only in the missiles and the guns and all of that. But what they have forgotten is there are two types of powers: the power of the Brahma and the power of the Kshatriya, the power of the weapon and the power of the speech. I can curse. So people ask me, what can you do about it? There's so much happening in the world. And I tell them, I sit and curse them. And then they laugh because they know nothing is going to happen. But I know better, because the power of the curse is the power of the speech. And people should never undermine the power of speech, because vak, aham, rudredir, vagambruni, this is the speech that is unfolding in all the forms of the deities. What is the goddess? The speech herself. Again, I went back. What is it to subdue speech? That's like the weapon, the flesh, physical, corporeal, taking power over speech. And this divine is the speech, not the flesh, not the weapon. All these weapons will go meaningless. That is the faith. That is the hope. What else can we have? The hope is that our power still retains some truth to it, and that speech will make a beautiful reality. Because what do we want to do? We are the poets. We create reality by our speech. When we are allowed to speak, that is all we can do, because all we have is speech. We don't have flesh. We don't have weapons. We are disembodied because we have no power. We are powerless. But what is the real power? The power of the speech that we have. And what can we do with that power? I will curse all the evil for their incineration. That is what I do. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Timalsina. So there's another hand, I think. Okay, so Bala. So first, Bala, we're going to unmute. You had a question, so we're going to unmute you. Go ahead, Bala. Did you make it to unmute? Yeah. Can you unmute yourself, Bala?
Oh, yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you.
Pranama Acharya-ji. You had discussed in your talk the meaning that can come through vocalized recitation of the Chandi Pataha. Also central to the text is the Navarna mantra, which is also practiced as japa, but more of an internal repetition. So can you help us understand, when it comes to self-realization, what is the relationship between the practice of the text as an externally vocalized mantra and then the practice of the internal japa of the Navarna mantra?
Thank you. Very deep question indeed. In the beginning, I have told people that you can even go with the vocalization of Navarna. But that is not a mandate forever. So that is up to the level when you are able to mentally articulate these 9 letters. But you are correct in the sense that the mantra, what is called mantra itself, is internally repeated, but then Saptasati is vocalized. But Saptasati itself is a mala mantra. On one hand, mala mantra is a long mantra. When you read the whole thing unbroken, then the whole thing becomes a single mantra. And Saptasati is also a collection of 700 mantras. So sometimes it can be broken. Namastase, a single mantra, just that much. So therefore it becomes 700 mantras. It is not because of 700 verses, but every word there is a mantra. Or Rishi Ruvacha is a mantra. Therefore, if you are practicing this, performing in ritual, then Rishi Ruvacha itself functions as a mantra, and you have a separate libation for Rishi Ruvacha. When you do fire ritual, then you have to have a separate libation for that. But then the interrelatedness is when you read the commentarial text, you'll go to see that they are somehow in the kind of logic they use. I cannot explain it to you, but they see that they extract the whole Saptasati on the basis of this Navarna mantra. It's as if an elaboration, these three kutas being the three sections of the three charitras of the goddess, and then the whole the goddess name herself is the role she plays in the 7 and 8 chapters of Raktabija and Chandamunda. And then the realization, the last word is the recognition, self-reflection. The whole book is a commentary upon 9-letter mantra that you vocalize, a commentary. So that becomes very cryptic. We cannot really see with our common logic that the whole narrative could be somewhat a lengthy commentary with the myths and everything added to it, just of those 9 letters. But that is traditionally true. So this is the seed we call always, and the tree. You can compare the 9-letter mantra as the seed, and then the whole Saptasati as the blossoming form of the tree. And therefore they are interconnected, and we are supposed to practice the both. And yes, in everyday sadhana, we may not be able to do the Saptasati, but then that is why every year during Navaratra, we go and do these practices, and we bring the whole text back. And our recitation should always keep in the harmony of the connection between the mantra and the lengthy mantra. So it's not that this is the mantra and this is just a story. Every word in the Devi Mahatmya is also mantra. Actually, I do not know any other book with that extent of application, like all the magical applications, as you can trace in dedicated to Saptasati. There's some reverse order reading, some inverse order reading, some combining some phonemes with each of the verses. So if you read all the texts, the tantric texts like Katayani Tantra, Bharai Tantra, and so many other tantras that discuss the application of Devi Mahatmya, this is the most practiced in the world of when Tantra is actually practiced, right? In India, people actually use it, apply it. It is applied in daily life. This is the most applied book ever in the world of Tantra. So there is a continuity rather than saying this is different, that's different. This is a continuity, and then it's like recognizing the heart and recognizing the body. The whole book is the body. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Dr. Hiran, if you'd like to unmute yourself, go ahead.
I already asked the question.
Oh, you did ask a question. Okay. All right. Thank you, Dr. Hiran. Let's see. I think that's it.
There's one more.
One more?
Chat.
Go ahead. Get it. One second, Dr. Timalsina. I think there's one more question here. No.
Oh, that's
Okay.
it. Yeah.
Okay. So that is it. That's all the questions we have. Thank you so much, Dr. Timalsina, for this wonderful exposition on Durga Puja and the Chandi. One of the things we do in Southern California, which our beloved Swami Shwahananji had started, is during these 9 nights, if you'd like to, also Dr. Timalsina is talking about getting the blessings of the mother. So one of the easy ways we've done is to take a vow to make an extra additional japam. If you have a japa, a mantra that you practice, make an additional pledge to commit for these 9 nights. So that would mean that if you normally do a certain number, if you want to add a certain amount, We have in San Diego and our Southern California site, if you'd like to write your name and also how much you want to pledge. So collectively together, if we do this pledge, one of our Swami Swahana used to say 100,000 japa is equivalent to the power of Durga Puja. So that's why we like to do this as a community effort. These Durga Puja you find is a community practice. And if you go to Bengal, where you see Durga Puja being practiced, you'll find at every block there's going to be a pandal, and where people come together from various backgrounds, pitching in together for Durga Puja. And it's a way of socially bringing everyone together. Dr. Timalsina, one of the things I liked was that in Belamat on Vijaya Dashami, you would see at the end of that victory day, one of the things is that the younger people, the younger sadhus would make pranams to the older sadhus. And the older sadhus would then do this kolakushi, give a hug, embracing of a hug. And the idea then is that whatever happened in the past, between our relationship, we erase it. It's gone. We start fresh and start new. So we think of like this Durga Puja as a new, at the end of it, a new fresh, a new start. Everything's been wiped away by the Divine Mother, and now we're starting clean with her grace. So we'd like to thank Dr. Timalsina so much for giving us this wonderful exposition. For those that are in San Diego, live near San Diego, next week we have Swami Vedarupanandaji speaking at 11 o'clock on Saturday, and his talk will be, "What is your philosophy? What is your philosophy?" So now I'd like to ask Dr. Timalsina to close us off with a chant and blessings.
Nirasamsat purnad ahamiti pura bhasayati yat dvishakha mashaste tadanucha vibhanktum nijakala swarupadunmesha prasarana nimesha sthitijushas tadadvaitam vande parama shiva shaktyatma nikhilam. As all is composed of Shiva and Shakti that manifests in the myriads of forms, let us all recognize the Shiva Shakti within. Let this Navaratra be the most powerful Navaratra in our lives. Have successful sadhana, and let's bring light in our heart. Let Mother Durga reveal our true identity. Jai Ma.
Jai Ma. Thank you, Dr. Timalsina. And thank you everyone for participating and giving great questions. If you want to, because Dr. Timalsina did give a lot of information, these videos are recorded and put into our San Diego Vedanta website. So thank you everyone, and we'll see you next time. Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma.